Hey guys, I'm Paul. I'm a woodworker. I've been making sawdust for well over 40 years now. This is a video on stripping wood. All my videos are on finishing, kind of like the finish guy. That's kind of my niche. But so I have probably about a dozen videos on finishing. This one's on stripping wood. So if you're refinishing furniture, this is a good place to start. This is the second part. I do have a first part. The first part deals with the stuff you'll need in order to get a good job done. The problem comes in is that once you put down the liquid stripper, you have no time to run around and look for tools and paraphernalias and picks and brushes and stuff like that. So I give you everything you need to know, everything you need to start. So watch part one. Part two, this is the actual demonstration on where I strip the wood. And we go a little bit further. We'll talk about this kind of how to restore some of the luster to the wood after it's stripper, because stripper plays havoc with wood. So I'm in my kind of studio, if you will, at my desk, but because my shop is too cold to do this video. It's like 10 below in Chicago today. So okay, hope you enjoy. I hope you learned something. Please leave comments afterwards. Okay, so we just took this piece in today. The base is fine. The top needs to be refinished. The top is in pretty bad shape. We're gonna do it in a darker color. What I'm gonna do, I'll do a light sanding and then I'm gonna use a chemical stripper on this. So follow along with me and we'll get this done. I'll probably do, I'm going to do a polyurethane finish on it. We'll do it a satin finish, but the start is let's get it down to bare wood. So we'll start with a stripper and go from there. The key with any stripper is what it does is it eats through the finish, and it works when it's wet. So we want to lay it on very liberally. This is not thin coats because we want it to keep moist for at least 30 minutes to give it a chance to dissolve the paint or varnish or whatever it is that you're trying to get off. So I'm putting it on thick. I'm done. I'm going to leave it alone now. Let's take a close-up. I think you get the idea as to the thickness of the coat. All right, see you in 30 minutes. Okay, so here we go. Again, what you want to have on hand. I like these little plastic kind of scrapers. They don't have a real handle on it, but I like these better because you can put some pressure on it. And then this is just an old broken piece of glass from a picture frame that makes a nice plate to put it on and then scrape it off into the garbage can. And again, our garbage can is just an old garbage can, but it's lined with a plastic liner. So it saves you a lot of cleanup in the long run. So let's do a little test here. Okay, so it looks like most of the residue is out of the wood. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry completely. All right, so we've just stripped our furniture and our wood, and what we find, and what you should find, is the stripper is caustic, and so what it'll do is it'll damage the wood somewhat, and it causes little frizzies, if you will, in the wood. We have to get rid of those frizzies if we want a nice finish. So what we have to do is sanding. Sanding needs to be done very lightly, not deep or not heavy. We use a medium grade sandpaper, a medium to a fine grade sandpaper. I always start at a 120, and then depending on what type of finish I'm going to put on, I'll stop at a 180, because if you're going to put oil, we have to go up into the 300 range sandpaper. But if you're going to use a polyurethane, which most people do, or a varnish or a shellac, you can stop at a 180 to 220 grit. Okay, but let's go back to, we have to do a very light sanding, and the reason we have to do a light sanding is because your wood might be solid wood, or it might be a veneer. Veneered wood is probably the more common wood with newer type furniture, where solid wood is more common with older type furniture. Veneer is actually layers of cheap wood that's underneath and the inside, and they're glued in different directions so as to give wood stability. And then to cover the cheap wood, what they do is they take a very thin coat of veneer, and it might be oak, it might be walnut, it might be anything. But veneer is as thick as a business card, no thicker. The problem comes in is that we could easily sand through that if we don't sand correctly. Sanding correctly, using a medium to a fine grit, and it means not bearing down. So if I'm using a hand sander, I'm just going to let the weight of my hand do the sanding. If I'm using a mechanical sander, I'm going to let the weight of the machine do the sanding. So I'm not going to put any pressure on it. The reason we sand through is because you bear down. You're trying to get scratches out, or you're trying to get something out, and you bear down, and we've all done this. Even seasoned woodworkers done this. We've sanded too hard, and we've cut through the veneer and got down to the cheaper wood, and that ruins the surface of the wood. Okay? So a light sanding is the rule. So it's time to do a little sanding on this. There's a lot of grain raise here, a lot of rough spots. There's still a little bit of finish that hasn't come all the way off because of the stripper. So I can do the rest of this with a sander. I'm going to be starting with a 120 grit sandpaper, and then I'm going to finish off with a 180 because I'm going to stain this. So I want to stop at 180 for a stain, so that the stain absorbs properly. By the way, couple things. If you're not sure, because you need a different grade sandpaper for different finishes, oil requires a finer grit sandpaper. If you're not sure what finish to use, I have a video out. It's called choosing choosing a clear wood finish. So I go through all the basic finishes on that. So that might help you as far as making a determination. We talk about durability, we talk about beauty, we talk about functionality, we talk about maintenance, we talk about all those kind of things. So you might want to take a look at that if you're unsure. If you know you want to use polyurethane, which is probably the most common finish, then I have a couple videos. I have one that's called Bubble-Free Polyurethane Application. You definitely want to watch that. It tells you how to do it properly. Polyurethane out of the can is just too thick. and it has a tendency to bubble, puddle, run, and leave brush marks. So you don't want that. So this will teach you how to avoid all those pitfalls. Also, I have a separate video. It's on the characteristics of polyurethane, and I think that's important because out of all the finishes, polyurethane has a lot of intricacies and a lot of different choices. So that might help you choose. There's water-based, there's oil-based, there's different sheens, there's all kinds of things. So there's some things you should know about polyurethane. So you would probably want to watch that. I'll put the link down below. And lastly, sandpaper. Choosing the right grade sandpaper for your. In this case, because it's going to be stained, I'm going to stop at 180. So we're going to start with 120. That's a little more aggressive. So the lower the number, the more coarse the paper is. The higher the number, the finer the paper is. So we're going to start now. Just watch me for a couple minutes because I'm never going to bear down on this. There's a couple pitfalls. One is sanding through, but the other is it can gouge the wood and cause damage. So we want to let the sander do the work. We're just going to use the weight of the sander. The other thing to know is when you're sanding with a mechanical sander is you move about 1 inch per second. If you move too fast, you'll leave sanding marks. Okay, so I'm going to put this on fast speed because obviously it'll get boring, but I'll start off in the regular speed, so regular film speed, so you can see about how fast I go. Okay, so we're done with the cleaning up process, the removing the varnish process. The final sand was done with a 180. I'm going to stop here for two reasons. Number one, we're going to stain it. You don't want to go too fine of a sandpaper when you're staining wood, because what happens is the finer the sandpaper, the finer the sawdust or the sanding dust that it creates. So in essence, when that happens, you clog the pores, and so it doesn't absorb stain well. This is a softwood. I believe it's a fir. I know it's softwood because of the grain patterns. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a pre-stain conditioner on it. You need to watch my video on staining because if I don't use a conditioner on this wood will blotch. And that's not an attractive finish. So all the grain rays is gone. I don't know if you can see it. This was the edge where there was a lot of grain rays. That's just some sawdust laying there, but we're ready to go. Okay, so make sure you download my summary sheet on this. It's at my website. It's paulsdiy.solutions. It's not .com. It's .solutions. So it's paulsdoityourself.solutions. And there's a series of cheat sheets on there, summary sheets on all the finishing processes. Typically, I make a cheat sheet for every video I like. If you learned something, please make sure you like this video. If you want more, subscribe. I'm the finish guy, so all my videos are basically on wood and furniture finishing. So So there's a lot more. They're all listed below. Questions? Please ask questions. I'm here. Pretty much I am retired, and so first thing in the morning and last thing at night. So chances are I'll get back to you in the same day, or at latest the next day. All right, happy woodworking.